Hey everybody, and welcome to another Table 13. I'm your host, A Wooden Leg, and above me is Shady and Mr. E. And if you've noticed, yes, I'm completely bald. I am aware of this. It did not happen on accident. It happened on purpose, and I'm okay. It's all right. The hair is
I
gone though.
had to I had to bring it to his
It is gone.
attention. He didn't know it,
Right. And
and then I explained to him
yes,
that
see, I have been made aware that I'm bald now. I didn't know that that's what they called this. I wasn't aware. I thought baldness was like being over 40. But no, it's actually got everything to do with your hair. See? Learn things here. Anyway, today we are going to go over downtime, which is defined in the player's handbook as the periods of time in between sessions. Yes, Zeke, thank you. So this does not mean things that you and your party do um, in a session, even though it could be construed as downtime because it's not necessarily like the stuff that like dungeon diving or main quest stuff. Like in Dragons of Paralandia, we built a door for a whole session, and while that didn't have anything to do with the main quest, and it was something that could have been achieved in downtime, it was during a session, so it's not technically downtime. Uh, Downtime is defined as time spent outside of the session doing other things, or outside of the sessions doing other things to increase your characters, uh, uh, money, resources, connections, or I think sometimes you can actually increase your characteristics with like training and stuff. But that was really more 3.5 stuff than 5e. We're gonna kind of go through the 5e downtime that they've put in the book, which is actually kind of small. And then we're going to expand on that with Matthew Colville's Strongholds and Followers, which is a supplement that expands the mechanics of downtime by a lot, which is it's really cool. And we've all three of us have read a little bit of it. Eric, it literally looks like you're drinking out of a pot of coffee. It
it
like
does.
it
It
looks
really
like you're
does.
just yep, it's a miniature pot of coffee. That's
He's just pulling
It's
it right
yeah,
off of the coffee
yeah, it's
thing,
just
it's
right?
about
And
yep.
yeah. It's like one of those. Oh man, it is like one of those hotel coffee pots.
Yeah,
Then
it's
like it's the same size as that
yeah,
for sure.
it's just I couldn't. I had to say something because you
Mm-hmm.
put it to your face a couple of times. Just like, is that
Yep.
what is
It's got
that?
sweet stickers.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Got
so
scent.
you've got the hotel coffee thing, and I've got the giant mustard container. It's
Uh
perfect.
huh.
We're
We're all
good.
set then.
And I'm drinking a
And can't
Sprite.
spill it, and it doesn't break when he knocks it over. So
This show has
it's
not
magic.
been uh, uh,
Totally on point. What are you talking
supported
about?
by
Mm-hmm.
Sprite, coffee, or mustard. Neither of those things are supporting us. Yeah, we're not.
we are
No.
we are getting paid for Heinz
Right. Yeah.
mustard.
We have a
So
promotion deal with Heinz. Drink
yep.
mustard, everybody.
Straight
It's just Heinz wants you to
all
drink the
day.
mustard straight, so that way you buy more of it.
No
Yeah,
chaser.
no chaser.
Oh
No,
god.
the mustard is the chaser. Are you kidding? You chase
For
everything
your
you
mustard.
drink with a little bit of mustard. All right. So
We're
looking
chasing
up
the pain.
downtime here.
Right. So
Doing downtime.
yeah, so and then I guess I would say that like to me downtime I in the book definition is totally it's defined as stuff that happens outside a session, but to me it's stuff that happens during like not at real time. Like building that
Oh,
door,
okay.
that's something to me that it since it was a time skip in some sense, you can stretch
Right.
that a bit, but since it's basically just an activity that everybody undertakes that, fast forwards the time a bit. I would consider that also downtime activity if you had decided in one of your sessions that a week or two was going to pass and you needed to fill that time. Then I would say that that's also sort of downtime because it's like you're saying, it's stuff that's not really happening like at the table, quote unquote, or it's not like acted scenes and things of that nature. It's just like a sort of that filler to get the calendar caught up, more or
Right.
less. Um, so yeah, that's a little different interpretation of how you classify things as downtime, I guess. But yeah, the book totally it's like, sort of to get your players involved when you're not necessarily mid session. or actually really reading through a lot of the stuff that's in the DM's guide, I feel that it's directed mostly toward like giving players stuff to spend money on.
Right.
Because there comes a point where it's just like, well, I have all the magic items I need, and I still have, this 50,000 pound pile of gold over here that I can't
Well,
lug around
actually,
anywhere.
the player's handbook doesn't really even go into that. That might be in
DM's
the
guide.
Dungeon Masters. Oh yeah, the DM guide.
Yeah,
But in the player's handbook, it
there's a
only
little.
lists
They
crafting,
let you build
practicing profession.
strongholds
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
that's
like
right.
that.
That's right. That's right.
But
Let me look that
it's very basic. It's very simple, and
Yes.
it's super time intensive, like everything involved in there. But I guess yeah, we can start to like walk through each individual bit if you want to do it that way. But
Yeah, I was gonna just go over what 5e does, and then I like from your perspective, Mr. E, from 3.5 too, and the um what they've done differently. Because like we kind of talked about this, we brushed on this last episode about feats, where we talked about how 3.5's feats were so much more involved in order to get them or the what they gave you in general. Um, and so but in 3.5 downtime, like I remember going through a couple of books, and like in order to get this feat you have to spend like this much downtime, studying this certain scroll in this certain location, or like your character has to put themselves in this isolated place and focus on a certain thing for a certain period of time in order to gain this ability. And it's kind of disappointing that 3.5 has smoothed all of that away in favor of a
fifth.
sorry, fifth. Yeah, fifth edition has smoothed all that away in favor of something much more streamlined. And yeah, that
I
was
was gonna say the opposite, that like there really wasn't any meaning to it because it
oh
was
okay.
sort of just like, well, at least the way we played in 3.5, like, oh, I need to spend 6 months doing something. Okay, 3 sentences later, that's done.
Right.
So we're now back at the table. I've gotten the thing and I can take my prestige class or whatever. So, like, I think that that was part of it for the way that we played, at least, where it wasn't super narratively focused. The fact that there weren't any like installed mechanics for, okay, you have to spend X, days and Y gold to get, Z reward. That I found, at least, that we ran into, it didn't seem important. It was just like, well, why would I go and do that when I could just like go raid some dungeon or something? Generally speaking, there were
Right.
specific circumstances like things you're talking about, or yeah, some of the prestige class requirements is what jumps to my mind, where yeah, you'd have to go and like, yeah, spend an extended period of time, but it's like that usually would happen off camera, so to speak, and so it wouldn't be as big of a deal. It's not as big of an investment as, like, to me, some of the stuff in the 5e campaign is like, oh, well, you got to spend 10 days or something. It's like,
Right.
well, shit, like your party's going
That's
to
way
be 10
easier.
levels higher than you by the
Yeah,
time you get
yeah.
done. Like, but I do think that there are some interesting little tidbits that they throw in to the Dungeon Master's Guide stuff. It's pretty straightforward, but there are some cool elements. I'm pretty sure they have stuff about running a business, um, which is
One
very, very
table.
basic. Yeah, it's like a paragraph and a table, or I guess 3 paragraphs and a table. But like, and you don't really get a whole lot out of it, but it's a cool concept, and the way that they structure the roles is interesting. It's sort of like, okay, well, you have your maintenance cost, and then it's sort of whether or not the business covers its own maintenance cost, and then whether or not it turns a profit on top of that, based on how these roles work. And if you have an unpaid debt, then you have a negative to these roles. And like, so that system in and of itself is pretty succinct, and like, but it's something that is a structure or a framework that you can kind of build off of to make things a little more complicated and
Mm-hmm.
involved. Um, like if you want to figure out how to calculate that maintenance cost in a more exact way than just like, okay, it's a farm, so it's 5 silver pieces, which you can look at. I think that's 127, for like your various property types or something like that. Like, yeah, you could look at it that way, or you could say, all right, well, it's this many acres of land, which requires this many people working it, which means that, and you've got to plant it, and then you've got to, like get all the grain milled. Like, these are all things that would happen in the process of running this business, which you could include. Farm's a bad example because it's not a day by day thing,
Right.
but like, like a blacksmith shop or something, you can work with that in a more modular sense. That's that runs in the background of a normal session.
Right.
Like it's not like you're sitting there at the blacksmith shop all day making sure that this stuff
Yeah.
happens.
Role
But
playing each interaction.
yeah,
Yeah, that's just having a
but
job.
maybe you do secure like a supply line to some mine
Right.
somewhere at some point that makes it so that you can produce, your goods a little cheaper, and then your ratio from materials to to finished product profit wise is a little better or something.
Right.
I actually did that. I had created a similar, a little bit more complex rolling table, actually for a player of mine's bar that he owned. And with a quest, he had made a new contact or something along those lines, where he would get basically a bonus to his roll, like a +5 to his D100 roll, so that it produced a better result on the table and more often turned a profit.
Right, and that's like the kind of the heart of that system, that table there that they
Yeah, the
give you on
table.
page 129. And I think that like I was saying, yeah, it's very simple, but there is room to look at it and say, okay, following this model, I
Right.
can do this and this, or I can use this to add, on these rolls I'm going to add these complications, or whatever they're going to roll on this table, or because they have other things in here that are kind of interesting. Actually, that might be more in Xanathar's, where they have like a more involved look
Yeah.
at downtime activity specifically. But I guess I keep running us around here in like
Oh, it's okay. We're exploring
generalities.
the
But
landscape of downtime here in terms of 5e. But yeah, so just
yeah,
a quick overview in case you don't have the book. There is like the downtime activities that they give you in the book are carousing, which is like gathering uh information or partying or just like meeting
yeah,
people in a general setting, crafting a magic item, gaining renown, performing a sacred rites, running a business, selling magical items, sowing rumors, training to gain levels, which is interesting, and creating
yeah,
downtime activities. Now, you could definitely sort these into ones that are more, uh, I think, useful or even more that they affect how the game is played more than other ones. Like, I think
yeah,
that, sowing rumors is going to be just totally up to the DM to determine
yeah.
if that's going to actually do anything or not.
And
While,
same with renown, I would say as
right,
well. It's basically only as important as your DM makes it, kind of.
exactly. And that can be the DM can completely just ignore it at the same time. But then like you have training to gain levels, which is you can spend gold to gain XP or even gain levels if you're playing like a milestone game. Um
Yeah, it is listed as a variant rule,
right,
then, or what they say it is, and I honestly I wouldn't. I don't get that. I guess I
right.
don't understand the idea of just like going out in the woods and training to get
Yeah.
levels. Seems like that's lame, but like if you were say like it's like Oblivion or something where you've got to like rest upon what you've learned to advance or
Right,
whatever,
right.
and like for each level you have to go and spend X amount of time in training to sort of like solidify what what expertise you've gained over the past whatever days. I can see that making some sense as to sort of make more reasonable the whole like that the hell week of like all of a sudden your character's level 20
Right, yeah.
thing. So I could see that as like it's just a second stumbling block to keep you from the level
Mhm.
like immediately in the middle of combat or whatever it is. But
That's not a bad idea. I kinda like that.
yeah,
The
like I could
sort
see
of
that
like,
working.
you earn the experience or whatever to level up, then you have to go spend a week, like, training with somebody or by yourself or whatever.
Right.
to actually obtain the level up.
And I think
And
that
you
like
can
it,
kind of like you can kind of like um, explain some of like the learned abilities that way instead of just like suddenly, ooh, oh, now I can run up walls.
Right.
Just
yeah.
whatever.
Like I couldn't, an hour and a half ago, but now I can,
Yeah, you
kind of thing.
can.
It's
Yeah,
like
I
Right.
killed that
that
goblin,
stuff's
and
weird.
that
Right.
deck taught me
Yeah.
great lessons. I can now cast this crazy spell. Yeah. So
Right.
right. Yeah. So that's an interesting way of using downtime as well. Also, I do want to preface with I have run Dragons of Pearlandia without using any downtime in the sense of things that happen outside of a session, because nothing happens outside of sessions. We literally stick to the RP the entire time,
We tried.
and
We
All right,
tried
but
one
if you were
time.
like
yeah,
to do the business stuff, like if like if the brothel were operating,
right,
then that would be something that's running in the background even while we're
yes,
doing other things for some amount of that time anyway. But like, that's the kind of stuff that to me, because otherwise usually I don't have much in the way of like, okay, we just check out
skipped
for a
time.
week,
Right, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
in games that I run either,
Yeah.
run or play in.
But that, I
Um,
guess that was the crux of my point, is that downtime does not necessarily, this kind of thing doesn't have to be quite as organized or quite as like separated between session and non-session as they make it seem in the player's handbook and the DM's guide.
Definitely,
Is that, yeah, you can
I agree with
use
that.
these tables, crafting, building a stronghold and stuff in sessions themselves without, too much trouble. Um, and I'm
And then you
not.
don't have to have the rule thing to do it. You can just role play it.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Which is
And it
usually
gives you
what I do.
flexibility too to like, let the player say, all right, but what if I did this? And, yeah, like I want to go secure does, supply line with some dude that works in a quarry near, like, and that I want to get cheaper prices on something. And like, how does that impact my role? Is gives you more room to do stuff like that. Even if it is just like, there's the party's just kind of hanging out. They got half a day to kill. Um, you can take care of a lot of this stuff in like 10 minutes, of just like, all right, what do you want to do? Okay, you're going to chase this down. All right, give me a roll. And you can run through how it happens. Or you can spend a lot more time on each individual
Hmm.
bit. But that's the other thing that I like, is that it's a way to, um, for players to kind of see their actions have impact.
Right.
um and so that's, I usually try and get something going that's some sort of business type or revenue stream or something, that my parties are responsible for in some way, shape, or form, because it's something you can threaten, and they can
Yeah.
watch it as it gets big, as the number of gold that they get coming
Yeah.
in gets bigger. They can say, oh yeah, we're doing this right or whatever. Even if it's just because they're running protection rackets in this certain
Right.
neighborhood of town or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Now
it's flexible,
I
but
have also seen the kind of the opposite of what we're talking about, in terms of like where you have you put downtime into the session, where I've seen entire campaigns turn into just managing spreadsheets, like just basically turning into downtime activities. And like I
talking
role
about us
played,
like we're
yeah,
not
like
here.
you two, we had a campaign, just the three of us, where you guys ran a city that you took over, and that it turned into basically like every, well, what do we went by, like weekly, and then every time you guys made decisions, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, and then the week
Yeah,
passes, and you get this much food, and then these many people, this many refugees show up, and then you have to. It was basically like playing a civilization game, but I was the
right.
fucking operating system.
Yeah,
So
it's a
that's,
good time.
it was a lot of
I mean,
fun.
there was role play bits too.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes. And but
and
like
It was
we
kind of
the
we
like
go
it was
through
kind
and
of
solve
like switched
problems.
around. It was like
right.
mostly
Yeah,
downtime stuff, and then it was
With
like XCOM, and then you go down
bits
and
of,
do your
yeah, like
thing.
bits of
yeah.
stuff in,
XCOM's a good way to put
yeah,
it. It reminded me
interspersed.
of Microscope or something almost
Yeah.
too. I
Yeah.
guess looking back, not at the time. Obviously, I didn't know what Microscope was, but it's that sort of premise of, all right, we had the structure that was pretty basic on like, all right, X income from Y people, and we've got to feed them,
Yep.
and then that sort of progression as it goes, build up the compound, and then
God, now I
when
want to
big things
do that.
happen,
Yeah.
you
Now I
Right.
want
move
to
in
do
on,
that.
you like zoom in on that
God,
specific event.
that's so
And
Yep.
good.
yeah, so I think that yeah, and that's the other side of it, is that stuff can be really fun in and of
Right.
itself. And
Right.
there are like, when I was trying to put a business system together for the Rusty Nail, I was trying to make it in a way that's like system agnostic and is essentially just like a play-by-post system that you could run just by itself as a bunch of people running their businesses. I've gotten
Right.
muddied down in the weeds of the numbers basically, but and so it's been sitting on a shelf for way too long now. But
So it goes.
as I do. But there's a lot of room there to I think to expand on, and it comes from this basic chart of running the business, which is just like, oh yeah, like every 10 or so numbers on the D100 you get a different outcome. It was just like, okay, like just expand from that and start building spreadsheets and go on down the line and figure out how much ink it takes to fill up a normal standard piece of paper.
Oh
with,
my god, I remember
writing.
that.
Because how else are you going to figure out how much you spend on ink when you're running a newspaper? Like, oh god,
I remember having so many
days.
discussions with you about that.
I ended up having to go to a fucking fountain pen forum where people love fountain pens to find that information.
Oh man,
it was great.
Oh god,
that's being a DM right there.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was like 0.2 milliliters or something.
It's not a whole lot, folks.
But ink's expensive,
lot.
so
right.
It adds up.
And you're putting out a lot of pages.
Yeah,
you're dealing with the law of big numbers.
It might have been 0.0. Well, anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, and that's so. I think that's the thing is, you can make it much more than just like rolling on a table and seeing what your income is that comes from that. Like
Right.
There's which I think they do a better job of in Xanathars, where they start to look at like complications and actually giving you more than a paragraph on some of these things. Because if you look at like the performing sacred rites one, it's like super vague, like what you're actually doing, and like how, like I guess I get it. The idea is that you're engaging in some sort of effort for the boon of some deity, I guess, and on that works. But it's like 10 days for like 2d6 days of inspiration, like why don't do that. Just have a bard in your party.
Right.
Or something, like, and so that's like, I think part of the problem with a lot of the stuff in the DMG is that it's super time intensive for what you're doing, and like the lowest increments you can do, or are like 10 days, or if you're talking about in the running a business, like you're seriously penalized by not taking a significant block of consecutive days, because you're adding the number of days you spend on on the activity to that D100 roll. So it's just, so if you spend one day and then go adventure for 5 days, and then spend one day and then go adventure for 5 days, and do that 6 times, it's not as good as just spending 8 days straight running the business, which probably makes some sense, but it totally disincentivizes the idea of an adventurer engaging in running a business, because it's sort of like either you settle down and just run this business, or you kind of don't make any money doing it, and then it's like, why bother, kind of sort of thing. With when they don't include anything more than just like, here's how much money you make and stuff like that, which is what the DMSG has for the most part.
Exactly.
But you get into a little more like interesting stuff with Xanathars. I have to
I don't have Xanathars right in front of me.
Xanathars does do a number of new things. I think we kind of used that as a template for the Rusty Nail stuff when we first started, putting that all together.
Love it when you turn straight to the thing you're looking for.
Yeah, right?
God, it's so good. Fuck rolling 20s. That's what's up. But yeah, and I mean, I think that everything that they have in Xanathars is, I guess everything that's in the DMG is also expanded upon or revisited or whatever in Xanathars for the most part. I think that they like split up the impact of carousing based on what class of society you're hanging around.
Yep.
The crafting the item stuff is that's like basically where we started for how much work your laborers can do per day, kind of thing in your business. Was right from this sort of system, and that's it. It's basically the magic items crafting system uh, from the DMG with like a little more on what is actually required for the creation. Like they weren't specific at all about what recipes might mean or entail or include in the DMG. They just kind of say, if you want to, you can require that they have special items. It's like, okay, so that's just me dealing with that then.
Right.
All right, great. And this one, they at least give you like here's like, like CR ranges for the required items that you need to make, like ingredients you need to make magic items of certain rarity and whatnot. And then, everything has a complications table in in Xanathar's guide, which is nice because they include stuff like crime and like gambling and pit fighting and and then they have like religious service, which I think introduces a cool concept, the like favors, which I would like them to use more. That's sort of like a traveler or some of the more rules light systems games do things like that, where you have certain assets like favors or contacts or
and
allies or
allies,
whatever. Yeah, exactly. And you can use them to accomplish certain things or whatever. And like, I kind of like the idea of there being something like that in D&D. These sort of like, intangible, non-specific boons that you could say, it's like a point that you can expend to say you have some sort of story connection that will help you in this situation or whatever. Like,
Just make me
and I don't
this
think that's
hero
exactly
system.
what they have in mind, but I mean, it's, there's room to do that here,
Right.
I
That's
think.
kind
And
of
that's
the
the stuff
idea,
that they
though.
point at. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're in town and you need somebody who can get a hold of a very particular, strain of vegetation for a potion or something, and it's fairly rare, and none of your party is anybody who'd be good at that, and you happen to have a favor from somebody who runs an alchemy shop,
Right.
there you go, cash it in.
Yeah. And I think they've got some pretty good stuff, but some of they go like the other direction where it was, you don't like, they wanted to make things that you could actually make money from, but they were like, well, it can't replace the desire to actually adventure.
Right.
So you make like no money at all. So it's like working is my favorite, because you just like, the best you can do is pay for your lifestyle and make 25 gold pieces in a week. And it's just like, if you're not level 1, like that's like, even at level 1, you're like, man, fuck that, I'll go clear out a couple goblin caves and be back with like hundreds of gold. This is like in 2 days. This is dumb shit. But that is kind of the point, right? Like, I mean, the idea with a lot of this is that it's not super rewarding, but it's safe. And that's why most people aren't going out clearing out tombs and stuff, is because they can, I can chop enough wood to eat today, and I probably won't get eaten by the woods. So.
Kind of like why I'm not an underwater welder. They get paid great.
Like, they pay great,
but I just don't want to work in that kind of environment. It sounds too dangerous. I'm clumsy.
I'm also shit at welding.
Yeah,
that sounds horrible.
Without being underwater,
that whole thing sounds terrible.
Yeah,
like,
it's bad. It's not a great job.
I mean, I bet it is if you're a good diver and a good welder.
And a good welder, but I don't imagine
neither of those things
together very often too. Just, my two big loves in life are welding and swimming underwater. I think that the idea of downtime is also kind of there to give your role players like a way of going, oh yeah, this is why we're adventurers, because this sucks. Like, this is why we're gonna go do that thing that the guy comes in, is because we spent 2 weeks in downtime and we've done, like, our bard is now in deep with some mafiosos because he rolled poor in his carousing roll,
Right.
and our paladin has made 15 gold, just working as a ditch digger, and we're begging for something to do now. And so when the guy comes in with like, hey, I have a beholder stronghold that needs to be taken out, they're gonna be like, yes, please, God, if I
Yeah.
sweep one more stoop.
Characters like done. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
right.
okay, sweet. Let's get out of this shit.
But
Like throwing down, mundane tools and implements.
I think that that's one of the things that I have trouble with in terms of I do tend to use to give rewards on like things like running a business greater than what would be recommended because oh, there has to be some reason to adventure. But I like it when campaigns like turn a corner like that and turn into
Right.
running a business instead of adventuring, because your characters were like, oh, this is profitable, I'd like to do this. Like as a DM, it's really my responsibility to continue laying the railroad tracks for them to pursue what they want to pursue. You,
Definitely.
yeah, you don't want to make it like way more lucrative than adventuring or
Well,
like
I mean, you can. It
Yeah.
depends on what the
yeah,
story of the game is, right? If
right,
you're just running this sandbox world
right,
and the players want to get involved in some kind of drug scheme and it's lucrative, then you can play all of that.
right,
And you can do the downtime bits, where all the boring shit of selling the drugs on the street or whatever. Um, and then some shit happens, and the party's there to have their dungeons and their dragons exist within Waterdeep, in the streets of Waterdeep, getting attacked by some horrible gang of miscreants.
Yeah,
right.
and I think that's the other thing too is it's just you can just leave a city in a game, and I think that's a lot like giving your party any other significant resource that they're willing to invest that they've invested in as a party. Um, which is by that I guess I mean like you give them something that they care about, which you can then use as leverage to you can threaten it, you can say, oh, this is a thing that will help this, like you guys want this business to be successful, well here's this guy who's got whatever supply chain shit going on, or that is really well known in the noble community and will help your business with rich folks or whatever, and you can use that to move things forward and figure, just to keep bringing conflict. But if what the players want to do is run a business, then like just make it an interesting business to run.
Right.
Because players are gonna have, they're gonna get hassled by, the master criminals if they're really
Yeah.
good, and the more successful they are, the better a target they are, and
Or like most
uh,
campaigns that happen, they're so bad the health inspector
right,
shows up, and just
yeah,
like, hey, so your tavern, last night you've tried to serve another guy's meal after that guy had eaten half of it. That's not, you can't do that in the city. Uh, so we're gonna need to check the
it's just a
premises,
guy like peeing and
Right? Yeah.
like at the moment,
There's always one of those in
it's
every
like
party, like, oh
I have a
man,
health condition and I refuse to wear a mask in your store.
bam.
topical. So yeah, that's an interesting point. The that you made, that you want to make it an interesting business to run. Like uh, and it really does definitely depend on what kind of game you want to run. Because if you're like,
Right.
man, I really just want to do a string of dungeons with little bits, then you're gonna want to follow this kind of table that is in DMG closer than if you're like, yeah, I'm gonna just follow where my players want to go. Because the DMG is like, yeah, this is not worth it. This is to fill stuff so your characters aren't just staring at a wall for a week while your DM
Right.
builds the next level. Um, Rather than a continuation of the story or even building upon the story itself. They do give you some room to do that, but it's definitely all on the DM's shoulders. They don't want to do much with it. So it really does depend on your players. But this gives us a good segue into the stronghold system here.
Sure. Yeah.
Because while the Dungeon Master's Guide gives you, building a stronghold and then some prices for how much that would be, they're just like nothing. They don't give you anything other than a building to call your own in the world. But the stronghold system, oh boy, lots of stuff.
Yeah, there sure is.
I'm just opening the file here.
They've got like, I mean, yeah, obviously they have like the, strongholds is this, they're basically this headquarters concept for your party, but also kind of maybe the individual character. Um, like they've kind of got them set up. There are some major types. It's like keeps, towers, uh,
Taverns or
establishments, I think they
establishments,
call it. Yeah,
yes, and
but
then
and
temples.
yeah, temples, and then
Yeah,
castles are like
yeah,
complex strongholds, which
combinations.
include more than one of those. But
So if you haven't heard about it, yeah, Strongholds and Followers is a system written by Matthew Colville that came out, oh geez, maybe 2017 now. What is
God,
the
it's been
publishing
that
date
long.
on this bad boy here?
it
Publishing
has been
date
some time.
2018. Okay, first printing. So it hasn't been as long as yeah, that's still 2 years. 2 years ago. And what it does is it basically takes that paragraph that the DMG talks about in building a stronghold and it turns it into an entire book with a campaign attached. It's a really cool system because it also it's like if you want to run a campaign that is like running on a higher level in terms of like a cultural impact. And what I mean is like you're more than just a group of people wandering from town to town doing good deeds. You're like a group of lords or you're a group of like nobility that can actually make decisions in a country and have sweeping changes without the DM having to actually like build an entire political system or build an entire system of how to handle something like a large scale army or a siege, which is in the normal rules of D&D nearly impossible to do in a way that's really satisfying because I we've all made the mistake as a DM of putting the party against like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a swarm, and then you just go, oh god, now I have to move 50 tokens,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work, and then you do hand wavy stuff. But this system gives you this book gives you a really cool system to do large scale combat in.
It does do that very well. I do think that to that end, a lot of the things in the book are geared toward that sort of grand scale mass
Right.
combat stuff. A lot of the features of the individual strongholds and the the class types or whatever are based in like mechanical boons on the battlefield when initiatives rolled kind of thing. But there are like pretty significant narrative impact things as well, and like with the followers, you can start to flex things around a bit. There is
Yep.
room for it to be more than that, but
Yeah.
it's kind of geared toward influencing the region in a major way
Right.
and building yourself up to, I guess, be a target for other wielders of influence in the region that
Yeah.
you're setting up your headquarters in, basically.
Yeah, so the basically like you've said is the whole point of these strongholds is to give your characters a place, b a system in order to gain levies, which are like well, units, in terms of like large platoons of people, and then and then three, they give your characters certain abilities in what is it called, an extended rest period, which is spending a week inside your stronghold. So if you spend a week inside your stronghold and you can't do any other downtime activities, you have to actually like do the 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 day to day of the stronghold. You gain certain abilities based on your stronghold's level. You can level up strongholds by spending gold, lots of gold, like it's thousands of gold to upgrade these strongholds. It does give a place to put that dragon's hoard instead of just like, oh, I'm gonna buy all the spyglasses in town. You can just actually like like have a purpose where you're like, oh, I found a hoard of 25,000 gold. I'm halfway there. Rather than, oh, I found a hoard of 25,000
Right.
gold. The game is over.
What the
Like,
fuck do I do with this
yeah,
money? Like,
woo, I
oh my
can buy
god.
every longsword in the kingdom and then fuck myself with them. But this actually gives you an ability to um put that money to good use.
What
I
the
don't think
fuck?
you'd survive.
No, probably not.
Um,
Perfect.
So, but there's really cool ones too, because like they like we said, they're split up into these 4 groups, which is towers, which is like a mage tower. If you're like you can actually build spells, which is kind of a neat concept. They give you a
yeah.
mechanical system to build spells. Um, then you have the stronghold or the keep, sorry, which is like
Mhm.
specifically geared towards this large scale combat system. Um, and then like the temple, which is dedicated to like clerical stuff. You call
You
down
know,
boons from your
admin,
gods. Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
filing,
right, yeah.
clerical.
There.
Sorry.
And then
I
the
always make that joke because it's always a theocracy. So everybody who works in every stupid
right,
administrative office is a cleric and they're doing clerical work and it's great. I don't care if my players don't laugh. I do. That's
which
what's
is all
important.
that's
That's you.
important.
Sorry.
Gotta
Oh,
have
and
your
then the
fun too, right?
establishment. That's right. And the establishment is basically the business. It's a much better business system.
Yeah. It's a front for a
Okay,
covert
that's true. Yeah, it's a
operation. You know,
front
like
for
it's
aspiring. Yeah, you're
it's
right.
the business side of it is pretty light. It is probably my favorite type of stronghold
Right.
that they give actually because it's really interesting. Um, the way it works and you can they have a favors system where you can kind of use that and pay a certain amount of money to have access to one of the other types of strongholds abilities or features because of some connection or influence you have with other people because of your sort of covert ops group that's based out of this establishment. But the like revenue stream stuff is all very basic for my
Yes.
taste
Okay.
anyway.
Well,
um,
yeah.
that cause it's less about the business and more
Right.
about like the thing you're doing with the building and I guess to me the downtime stuff that I really like enjoy more like we can do the spy stuff too, but if I'm going to get into it with a business, I'm going to have a spreadsheet and I'm going to be charging you for I'm going to
Right.
find out how much you're paying for your raw materials and how much you're paying your laborers and how many laborers you need and how much work that produces and down the line. But that's because I'm
You're a
broken
crazy
like that.
person. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's fine. That's okay. We're
I'm
all
down. I'm so
each
down with
person.
that though,
Right.
because
Yeah. I was gonna
then you
say.
can pick apart and you can totally like you can take those bits and fix them. Oh, I've got
Right.
this
Right.
guy. I'm paying more money than I need to for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I could just have a fucking
Get a fleet of these
homunculus
and
do it
don't
Yeah.
for
worry
me.
about this and
Right.
that's it's
From the
fun
from
and to
the
me
space of
that's part of the
somebody,
puzzle to solve, I guess.
right? From the space of somebody who played Eve and uh, like was surrounded in
Right.
spreadsheets for a good portion of his video gaming history. Um, that sort of thing, like that creates a lot of gameplay for me as a player, and it probably doesn't for most people. But if you get a group of people like that together, oh
You can
yeah,
have a
Right.
lot of fun. I
Yeah.
I really like the variant keeps that they give you. Uh,
There are some very
yeah,
cool
like
options
they
there. Go
give
ahead.
like
Sorry.
a keep is usually the idea of like a fortress, but there is a barbarian camp keep that is a mobile keep. So you can like
Yeah.
basically like be a barbarian king with a fucking entourage of people. Then you just pick a spot, set up camp, and then start raiding in that area.
Yeah. You're
Uh,
just like big crew that just rolls around
yeah, you just like
and
put
fucks shit
down
up.
like just root. You're just like I'm gonna hang out in this kingdom. So it gives me a lot of really cool ideas for like a campaign where you start with a barbarian keep in a certain country and have to like avoid their larger military might.
Right.
And then the other variant is the pirate ship, which is
Which is so
also
fucking
really
cool.
cool. Yeah, it's like it gives mechanical basis to like a pirate campaign in a way that I haven't seen yet in a system,
Absolutely.
which is really
In
cool. Yeah.
and it I think is like probably the best application of that keep
Yeah.
concept, honestly. Like it's the most organic the barbarian camp idea where it's a roving group of people works really well too, and a stationary keep is just fine as well. But it is the things that you do, the way you attract followers, this whole process makes a ton of sense for a pirate ship, and that focus on like military personnel with the barest of artisans that you need to do what you need to do, who are also going to probably be competent fighters, kind of thing. It's like I do enjoy that aesthetic a ton. It's a really great. He's very flexible with the way he describes a lot of this stuff, and he mentions in a lot of the language that like these are meant to be suggestions, not limitations, and that like between the main core concepts and the variations, and then whatever individual tweak or spin you can throw on that, you should be able to narratively include whatever idea you can come up with in one of these 4 major types. And I think it does a pretty good job at that. I think the tower is a little like pigeonholy. It sort of only does one thing. And so the same could be truly said for the keep or the establishment, I suppose, but it's or temple, I guess, is better than the establishment, but regardless, it's it is just like it's, I mean, there's a variant for the school, which I thought was a cool concept. But I feel like you could run that out of a keep, you could run that out of an establishment, you could run that out of a temple. So I do think that there's a very cool idea that comes into play with like, just because mechanically it's represented as a tower or something like that doesn't mean it's not aesthetically still just a castle somewhere that a bunch of mages inhabit or something like that. Like it can still be the same general concept, and the mechanics are pretty flexible in that way, which I like a lot.
So we are gonna go ahead and take a break now.
Oh God, are we there already?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna start taking breaks a little earlier, so there's not
call.
just 15 minutes left at the end of the session. So we are gonna take a break. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. Shady, you want to play us out?
I will play us out, friends. Thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to get involved with us on a more personal level, then you can join our Discord channel. It's the bot doesn't shut up about it in the chat, and it's down below the thingy. There's a little Discord button. You can also get there from our website, which is irrationalrad.io. We also have a shop there, a store there where you can be cool like Kyron and wear the sweet merch, or buy some dice. Buy some dice.
Buy some dice.
Buy some.
Buy.
No.
Are you buying yet?
If you're looking for content. Whoa, hello. There, oh, come on, buddy.
Ooh,
hey, wake up. There we go.
What's happening?
If you're looking for content, my video camera was all fucked up.
I'm sorry.
If you're looking for content, we have a podcast we put out every other Friday. It'll be coming out next Friday, next Monday for patrons, called Dragons of Paralandia, and you can find that anywhere that you find podcasts at. We also stream every other Monday, Gods of Aether, which will be this coming Monday. It is a real play podcast, or real play not podcast stream, with 2 of us here and the good old Kyle and John 1 and 2. The Johns, as we collectively call them. Other than that,
I'm sure that they don't hate that at all.
Right.
I think they love it secretly. Other than that, if you want to throw some money at us, you can check out our Patreon. There's a whole bunch of different rewards there and stuff, and I promise you, maybe someday I'll draw you a picture if you be a patron.
Yeah,
he
does. He does do
more.
All right, guys. Oh wait.
So we will see you then in 11 to 13 minutes.
Yep, sounds good. Bye, everybody. See you in a little bit. My name is Dagger Dan, and I got swords. I got knives. I got pole arms aplenty. If you need a melee weapon with a sharp end, come on down to Dagger Dan's. My blades are so sharp, I'm wanted in 6 kingdoms for accessory to manslaughter. Never have the deals been this good. Half price off katanas. Half price off axes. Buy 1 dagger, get 1 free. So get yourself and your gold over to Dagger Dan's. home of the largest dagger in the kingdom. Tell him Dan sent you.
Let's do it.
And we're back, everybody.
We're back.
We're talking about Downtime and Strongholds. Yeah. Going through Matthew Colville's Strongholds and Followers system. We kind of gave a brief overview about it before the break, and here after the break, we're gonna go through how these strongholds affect classes on a class by class basis. See if we can get through these in 25 minutes. So the first one is the Barbarian's Camp, which is a keep type stronghold.
I think so. I think that the way it works is that you pick the main type, and then each of them are sort of modified by what your certain character class is. And I think they say somewhere if you're multi-class, you can pick whichever you like. But honestly, before we get into all of them, there are none of these that you can't, with a small change in wording, make fit for any class. Like, you can give the bard one to a rogue. You could, the wizard and sorcerers don't work super well without magic users. But I mean, like cleric's camp could just be like a fighter or whatever who's a religious dude. Like most of these aren't totally tied to. They're not quite as flexible as the types are narratively, but you can still, I think, pretty easily just give somebody the uses that they're saying they get additional of or whatever of this ability that they wouldn't normally have because they're in their stronghold. And it's really not any more significant because they have to be next to their stronghold.
But it does turn the strongholds into layers with like layer abilities outside of normal things. Like it just like, the mile within a white dragon's lair becomes cold and becomes or tundra. The domain of your stronghold begins to take on a certain flavor. So in the Barbarian's Camp, the domain effects are ale within the Barbarian's domain is particularly refreshing, bringing good cheer with no hangovers the next day, no matter how much is consumed. Which is really just begging alcoholism, that's not
right.
Wildlife within the Barbarian's domain grows especially large and fierce, migrating as the camp moves. Kind of cool, also dangerous. Poisons brought into the Barbarian's domain are neutralized within the hour. No such cowardly, civilized forms of death are permitted. That's funny, but how does that work? Like, how does your Barbarian just produce that? But regardless, those kind of questions are not necessarily useful.
Magic.
Right. And that's the thing is, it's like all of these have supernatural sort of magical elements to them. So the idea that you couldn't slap that, any of those effects as easily on like your fighter who's got a more tribal or, like wilderness vibe or a ranger or whatever. I mean, it's the domain effects aren't the big ones, but that's just another situation there.
So you also get something called stronghold actions, which are really cool.
They're basically lair actions.
Yep. So if you're in your domain and you're in combat, you can use these to give yourself an edge. So barbarians you get the ability to issue forth a mighty yawp. Love that word. That causes all enemies within 60 feet to become frightened until initiative count 20 on the next round. Which is pretty
such a frightening word, guys.
Yop. You rage.
Barbarian version of RAR.
Yeah, right? RAR.
RAWR.
Yep. The next one is you rage, and your allies gain the benefits of your rage as long as those allies aren't wearing heavy armor. Your rage is catching. Yeah, that's really cool. You can cast Chain Lightning with a DC equal to 8 plus your proficiency modifier plus your Constitution modifier, which is pretty interesting. You may do this even while raging, and it doesn't end your rage, which is so gross. You become a lightning barbarian for free.
And I think that's important to note. Like this is not the most powerful set of stronghold actions. And they are very strong. They are. But I think it's important. He mentions it in the language throughout, but I was talking about it earlier. with Kyron before this, but it's best for GMs who are able to say, okay, this is going to happen a couple times a campaign, because realistically there aren't going to be that many fights where your players are next to their stronghold and able to benefit from this. And it's pretty easy to just situationally take the benefits of this the stronghold out of play. And then the big thing is that it's got to be like something that the players are trying to get to, because it does cost so much damn money that like. Yeah, they should be. I mean, by the time they're getting this, they've probably got like 7th, 8th level spells anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just gonna.
I know
add
they're casting a chain lightning's cool, but your wizard's been casting super fireballs for 3 turns already. So it doesn't.
You get another class feature improvement as well, which is called Chieftain's Rage, which is also disgusting. Whenever you reduce an enemy to 0 hit points, you can choose to make an additional weapon attack or move up to your speed. You can do this the number of times equal to your stronghold level, after which you take an extended rest to refresh your ability. That's not as bonus actions either. That's just you can do it.
It
just happens, and it can chain.
And you can
it
chain
keeps
it
going.
together.
That's Mighty Cleave for people who are familiar with 5e.
Yep.
So it's man, fuck yeah.
Yep.
Like, and that's cool.
I guess the idea is that like when you're using these things, you're being attacked by an army.
Right.
You're not being attacked by one assassin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it gives you that opportunity. Like you're fighting in your turf. You are fighting a big battle, and so even when you rip apart 10 people in one turn, there's still 500 others.
Right.
And that's the thing, is it's your house. So you don't have anywhere to go. There's no running, and so that's why it's a place for the heroes to shine a bit here and be heroes, because they're fighting on their terms, ideally. And then again, I'm gonna just go back to it. None of those abilities require any change in language to apply to any other class. Some of them you have to at least switch a couple words around, but all of these could equally work just as well. Your lair actions or your stronghold actions that happen at initiative 20 that you get a number of equal to your stronghold level, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, per short or whatever. But no, you can use one of each of them, I guess. So one of each of them once.
Oh, the stronghold actions,
yeah. But anyway, so but those they're just as accessible for any other class. So I think that it's important to keep that flexibility in mind as we go through the rest of these.
So the next one is the Bard's Theater. The domain effects of the Bard's Theater is whenever the wind blows through the trees in the Bard's domain, music plays. Hooves on the roads beat out a complex rhythm. The next one is folks who live for a week in the Bard's domain find themselves ending conversation with rhyming couplets, which would be just the most annoying thing in the world, honestly. It's just
like
I'd be so pissed when you realize, because it'd probably be a month before you catch on, because it just it wouldn't trip.
It's not sentences, it's conversations. So it's not like you're rhyming at the end of every sentence. It's just like, all right, goodbye, have a good day, and just like, wait a minute, we're rhyming. And then the last one is thunder can be counted on to roll whenever someone in the Bard's domain says something dramatic. Ravens obediently alight on nearby branches when it is dramatically expected of them, which is
great.
It's great. It doesn't convey any more benefit other than the DM is just like, ha, 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 ha.
It's so great. It's like you live in a Scooby-Doo episode. Like
Disney.
It's fantastic.
Your stronghold actions, you get 2 of them. Until initiative count 20 on the next round, all inspiration dice provide their maximum result when rolled, followed by the sounding of a 2-note chord, 1 root note, and another 5th higher than the root, which is some kind of musical theory thing, isn't it, Brett?
I'm sure that matters.
Yeah.
What does that
mean? Means something.
It's a power chord.
Oh.
I mean, it's like the one, the 1st and the 5th.
I love it. Yep, that's excellent.
That's pretty good.
The next one is a 3-piece band arrives singing your praises until I love the idea that you're just like in this giant battle and all of a sudden a mariachi band appears.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing too for some reason.
Arrives singing your praises until initiative count 20 on the next turn. Enemies making saving throws against your magic by rolling 3 d20s and using the worst of the three.
These are so ridiculous.
Super
It's silly.
disadvantaged.
Yep.
It's just
Okay,
like
but-
if there's a mechanic in 5e, let's take that mechanic.
and then
Let's just fucking ruin it.
break
Right?
it over your
Well,
knee.
okay, but look at the rest of the things that Bard gets,
Right.
I'm
which is
just
nothing.
saying.
Essentially,
I'm just saying, like you could have disadvantage. No. Disadvantage
no,
isn't enough.
super disadvantage.
Super disadvantage.
Right, but you already might have disadvantage for some reason,
Right,
and then it would
that's-
have no impact. And how lame would that be if your stronghold action didn't impact? I don't know. So
Right.
I don't hate it because you can only do it once. You know, you can only do it
Yep.
once in a battle. So you're gonna get one spell that will probably hit, unless they get shat on so hard.
Oh, look, I rolled
Right.
320. Fuck you, players.
Wow. Like, oh my god, I'm out. Like
The last one is you
Yeah.
regain all inspiration dice, which is pretty cool. Unless your
Mhm.
DM doesn't give out inspiration.
no, it's
No.
bardic inspiration.
Yeah,
I think
know,
is what
yeah,
they mean.
Yeah, no, you get bardic inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
they,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the Bard's Theater. It's pretty good, but it's not the best one. It is not the best one at all. It's probably the worst
It's
one.
nice.
Honestly.
It's very
Yeah.
useful.
It's cute.
Like you're gonna make everybody else very good with these abilities, but it's not the bard itself. Is like there's one of these that's like something that's gonna make the bard
Yeah.
shine. The rest of them are just making powering up your inspiration basically.
Or just making your NPCs rhyme at the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
The next
I
one
don't like
is
that at all.
the Cleric's Church.
The class feature of the bard real quick.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed
encouraging
that one.
inspiration. So they all have the domain effects, the stronghold actions, and then there's a class feature improvement. And this one is the unspent bard inspiration dice, and they're proficient. While an ally has an unspent bardic inspiration dice, their proficiency bonus increases by +1, which is pretty fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And this applies to a number of inspiration dice equal to your stronghold level, after which you must take an extended rest to refresh this ability. And again, if you just say you gain a number of inspiration dice equal to your stronghold level, which are recovered when you take an extended rest, suddenly this works for every class in the game now. And now all those lair actions that you have actually do something, because you might not have had bardic inspiration before.
So,
cleric.
Cleric's Church. Domain effects. Folks who live in the cleric's domain are immune to disease. Wow. The cleric can hear prayers of those living in their domain who are in concordance with the cleric's deity, which is kind of a weird. It's like an eavesdropping. Yeah, you're like the NSA for prayers.
Like I don't want that crap. Like
Yeah,
when
NSA
you
for
sleep,
prayers.
what do you do? Like, oh my god,
Shut
just
up.
constant. It's like some Bruce Almighty crap.
Why are you praying at 3 a.m.? Go to sleep.
Oh my god.
While the cleric is hale, the weather in their domain is fair. If the cleric is wounded or suffering, the weather turns foul. If for this effect to happen, the cleric meanly has to be on the same plane as their domain. So like you could be just like, oh, it's raining.
Cool.
Oh, Father Gregory is sick.
So what they mean by cleric in this is God, right? Is that what I'm getting?
No, well, like God's prophet.
They mean
I know. I'm making a joke.
No.
Because like you've got this church, and when you're not doing well, the weather goes sour, and like you can hear everybody's prayers.
That
like,
is the idea.
You're basically fucking God.
I mean,
in this
that's
zone.
what God. Well, no, you're just the chief agent in the region. You're the regional manager, right? Like you're not, in charge of the whole franchise.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You still got, upper ups that your prayers go to or whatever.
Right.
But I think that's kind of a cool concept of the idea basically that there's some priest who's like the regional manager for certain faith's number of prayers, like that everybody that would suck. That would be such a shitty job. Like, oh my god, I've got to have everybody yelling in my ear all day.
God.
Like everybody here who's faith, it would make me not be a super effective
don't believe in my God,
faith.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's an ass. So fuck him. Don't
Stop
do it.
praying.
Yeah,
Please.
dear
Pray
God,
to
please.
Baylor,
I just
please.
want to sleep.
Yeah.
He doesn't hear you. I promise.
Hear you.
Fuck.
I make sure of it. All right, so you get some stronghold actions as well. All enemies within 30 feet of you you can use these at the top of turn 20, at top of the round. So keep that in mind as I read these because he's real good. All enemies within 30 feet of you must succeed on Constitution saving throw or suffer the effects of the Contagion spell, which is a touch spell, or it's supposed to be a
It's a
touch spell.
5th level
Yep,
spell that
and you just
targets a single
oh
person. It's
man,
bad
yeah.
news.
But you could just you get to choose the disease and they give you some and it's just not great. Like you can just make everyone in your vicinity that you don't like very ill.
Right.
The next one are shafts
And
of
then all
golden.
your
Yeah,
population is immune to
it's
that disease as
fine.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The next one is shafts of golden light stab down from the sky, penetrating walls and ceilings. The beams target all undead, demons, and devils within 50 feet of you, even those hidden or invisible. Targets must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be annihilated. They just die. If you don't
Killing demons and
save
devils.
on a wisdom saving
Mhm.
throw, everything that's a demon, devil, or undead just turns to dust. So that
Within
with the
60 feet
bardic
of the cleric,
with
but
with
still,
with the the super bardic disadvantage would be hilarious. But I don't think
right.
you could stack those
I
together.
don't know
Yeah,
if you can stack
it's
these
just the
up. I
bard.
think you do
Yeah,
have to pick
yeah.
um one of these archetypes for your stronghold
And then this
essentially.
is my favorite. This is one of my favorite stronghold actions. You and all your allies in the stronghold recover all hit dice and gain 30 temporary hit points. You're just like, okay, so I'm gonna hit
Oh
my
hey.
main and you're a cleric. You're already gonna have like mass healing, especially at this point. So this is just okay, well this is my oh shit button. Like, if we're real deep shit, I'm just gonna hit this and give. And it's not it's all allies. So that means like if you have
I'm like,
NPCs or
right.
like soldiers in your
Like
stronghold,
Frank the
yeah,
farmer
he just
has
suddenly
30 temporary
yeah,
hit points.
he's
That
got
changes his life.
he's like
Like
33 hit points now, like holy
like what
shit.
the shit just
I
happened? Oh
can
my
I can
god.
take a
I'm a
broadsword to the
superhero.
chest
Yeah,
now a couple of
like
times. Like
and then the next day suddenly he like
just
trips and
oh god,
fucking
what
dies
happened?
from like just falling damage. It's like,
So
oh god.
your class feature improvement is Manifest Destiny. When you use your Channel Divinity class feature, all allies within 30 feet regain 3d8 hit points. You can do this a number of times equal to your stronghold level, after which you must take an extended rest. Again, really good ability.
Yeah,
Just
really
stacking
good.
healing on
And
top of stuff like that.
if you just, like again, your deity, whatever it is for your you could just grab the channel divinity ability from whatever cleric, if it's a cleric, if it's a god of knowledge, you can pick the knowledge domains channel divinity and slap that on your fighter or something. You know what I mean? Like these things still all I feel are pretty modular and very effectively, like universal. They're written such that they should assign to certain classes, but I fuck that.
Right.
Yeah, if you do a little bit of work, you can make these fit in some pretty cool places
Absolutely.
for sure.
So
Yep.
Druid's Grove is
Druid's
next.
Grove. We're probably not going to finish all these, unfortunately, but
Nope.
this will probably
I
be our
mean, we
last
could
one.
try and just hang out and burn through them, but we're looking at 6 more.
So we're gonna. This one is probably gonna be the one that we end on. If you are interested in the more, you should definitely check out Matthew Colville's Strongholds because there are some really really freaking crazy ones. But yeah,
Well, looking through this stuff, it's cool as hell. It's something that I
yes,
think, um, moving forward, doing a game like this is something to work toward. Getting a party to
yes,
a point where they're like getting this, or even like you guys had said, starting a party with one. It would be a really weird like twist on because some of this is really freaking powerful. But you
yeah.
give it to a bunch of level ones, and it's not quite as powerful anymore.
What's also but it's also
Yeah.
the center of the campaign at that point. Like if you give it
Right.
to a bunch of level ones and then threaten it, they're gonna do more to try to defend it than a group of level 20s who have
Right.
two of these things.
Sure.
Right.
And then I mean the other well that's actually that's a really good point. It's much more significant at lower levels like that. Like they're never or the idea of being able to accumulate enough gold to build one is so far off at that point that I totally agree. But I think there's also an interesting like venue for if there's this group that's suddenly been put in charge of some like ruined built keep or old you're the highest ranking survivor of a certain military camp or a whatever at a wizard's tower or something. You could start a game that's kind of along those lines
Yeah.
where it's building one of these back up, kind of an idea, repairing it back to its
Right.
former glory or something like that. I think there could be a cool game in there somewhere too. Do we even want to bother trying to go through the Druid's Grove?
Well, yeah, it's
Let's not.
cool.
But
Yeah, it's fine.
okay.
Um, but yeah, so again though, these are really neat. It's a really cool expanse on D&D. The system, it does kind of break the game a little bit in certain ways. It does also kind of make it a little silly, like, with the triple disadvantage. It does take some of the general rules of 5e and does kind of twist them a little bit to give your players a little bit more of an advantage sometimes, especially in their own backyard. But again, that's really neat. It's something that in the hands of a good DM with some skilled players could be really rewarding and opens up a lot of doors for a lot of interesting campaigns.
And they also build a similar system for villains on the other side. So it's, if you're a fight broken with more broken DM, then there is room for that here too. I think you can, they don't have to just be superheroes who always slaughter everything because they've got their stronghold effects or actions or whatever. You could have some enemy that's coming at them with similar sorts of abilities, and it levels the playing field. It just, the stakes get ever higher, essentially, or combat gets ever longer, whichever way you want to look at it.
Right. All right. Well,
It's
that's
cool.
that is table 13 for the night. Thank you everybody who showed up and took some time with us today to talk about Downtime and the Strongholds and Follower system. Yeah, Shady, would you like to
Do we
do the
do the ad
honors?
again?
Yeah.
Yes, everybody, thank you for watching and hanging out and being friends. Join our Discord. You should listen to our podcast. It's pretty good. It's Regs of Paralandy. You can find it anywhere that you find podcasts at. We also stream here every other Monday, which we will be doing again on Monday, this coming Monday, and then every other Monday following. Join our Discord. Join our Patreon. Go buy some dice from our website. And if you send me a funny joke in DMs, I'll draw you a really quick, silly picture of something. So,
Ooh.
yep,
There you
if you're
go.
here, you
Ooh.
got that. Get in on the ground
Silly
floor is something great.
picture. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for showing up, and we will be back in a week with more D&D talk. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.